This is Mike. I have Conrad with me here today. We are out in the nursery, as you can see behind us. Conrad today is going to be talking to us about some of the things that he has seen during this planting season. So Conrad, without further ado, would you take it from here?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. And it is a beautiful morning. I just wanted to address a couple of issues that we have seen over the years. It's just not this year. It's always been a concern of mine because we produce a nursery stock and we deliver it to the growers. And I just want to point out some mistakes that are very common in this industry. And one of them is pruning. So when they receive the trees from me, they most often get a crew coming in and pruning the trees before they plant. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. On a quick note, I really don't like pruning that way before they plant. If you need to prune the roots a little bit, yes, but I want to emphasize the importance of doing what's best for the tree, not necessarily doing what's easiest for the crew or the planting crew, because the outcome is all based on what we do to that tree. So the tree always comes first.
Yeah.
And I think we need to focus on that. One of the things I've noticed that's a big problem, when they prune the top of the tree, and that is the biggest issue that I have, because when they prune the top of the tree, they once you select your height, we're not leaving two buds on the side limbs. And I'm gonna point out what I mean by that, because here's a tree that we delivered to the grower. And obviously you have this tree already planted, and I assume that you're gonna plant this tree and you're gonna prune it afterwards, because that's my preferred way of addressing pruning on a tree.
So first of all, you haven't pruned any roots though. So the trees come out, you have the tree, you don't really touch the root ball, right? You don't want to prune any roots.
You can if you want to. Yeah. I can pick up a bundle of 10 trees and just kind of prune around it, just the excess roots.
Yep.
Okay, but to take out, break the bundle completely and then cut the roots down to that size is just
not gonna happen.
That's not just, okay? Yeah. We're taking too much away, and we're trying to make it easy to make a smaller hole, and it's not about that. We produce those roots for a whole year. Take advantage of them. That's top and balance, top and bottom balance. Try to maintain that, okay? So this is a good example right here. So if I'm planting this tree and say I top this at 34 inches, okay? So I give my crew a stick and say, okay, you're gonna plant, now you're gonna cut them at 34 inches. What to do after that? Okay, so on this bottom 10 inches or 12 inches right here, this is my biggest concern right here, okay? From here down, you can cut this off completely, okay? So
to the trunk of the tree.
You can cut it all off, it's okay, all right? So you cut these off completely. One of the simple rules is you can always cut it off, but you can never put it back on, okay? So now you have a nice full head. And I will be showing you a picture here of what happens when you do this. You'll have a full head, okay? And you'll be seeing this. And then you'll see when you cut these off to nothing, I'm gonna show you what happens if you don't do it this way, what the repercussions are.
Will you have to replant that tree if you cut the whole tree down like this to the nub? Will you basically have to replace that tree in the field?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can do a lot of things with it, but you know, I've always preferred to have plenty of choices here where you're going to build your scaffold system. Yeah. If you cut this, especially if this ends up in the north, you're not going to have any north limbs here. Obviously, if you have base buds like you have here, you'll have selections there. But I would rather see a lot of choices rather than limited myself to choices. Sure. I've seen where you only have 2 or 3 shoots. Bird comes in and stands on one, broke one, and now you're left with 2.
You can always come back and prune it later.
Exactly, and so that's the point. This is the correct way of pruning a tree. Now, when you come back and do the pruning, oh, here's another bud here. Then you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. It's very simple. It's a simple rule that people need to watch for, and I think it's always been a problem. I've discussed this with contractors myself. I said, don't do this. This is what you need to do. Yes, yeah, we understand that. But when they transfer that information over to the employee, or you know, unless you're there on top of them, you know, they really don't. They understand what you're telling them. They just don't really understand the outcome of it, the repercussions of not doing it correctly.
So really, you really have to have somebody of your own staff out there, probably
Yes.
supervising these guys to ensure that this is the type of product that you're getting.
Exactly. And the way I did it on my own is I brought the crew in, I talked to all of them myself, and I said, this is how I want it done.
Yep.
And don't get offended, but I'm gonna have 3 other guys watching you guys to make sure my whole field is done this way.
Yep.
And it's just because if you have any questions, you can ask them, because they're responsible to make sure that the job is getting done
right.
the way I want it, because I want this to give me a full head where I can choose have plenty of choices.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to this other one. We'll do it again. So, here you have again. All right, 34. We're measuring it 34 inches from the ground, and I mean it's very simple. Once you get a hang of it, it's really actually fast. It's just knowing where you're going to cut. All right.
And you actually have more selections on this one than you had the last one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have.
So you'll leave everything.
Pretty just on the top 12 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one bud there. There's one there. So I'll just leave that. Okay. This one I like, so we'll take that off. All these can be cut off completely. Don't need them. There you go. You're going to have plenty to choose from. Now, in most cases, you have a tree like this one here. Well, the right way would be that you have all these base buds in here. A scaffold will always be a stronger base scaffold if it comes from a base bud.
Base bud meaning coming straight off of the trunk of the tree.
Straight off the trunk, yes.
Yeah.
If you come out of a limb, well, that's a secondary preference, but you can still do a really good job with that. So here you don't have much. Everything is going to be cut off on this one, right?
So it's okay if you don't have a limb selection necessarily, because like you're saying, these base buds will actually end up pushing pretty strong.
Very strong.
Okay.
Yes. Those are your best right there. And a lot of times if you pay attention to it, I mean, it's not very, very long that you have to leave them.
Yep.
In this case, this one is right there. So, I mean, but if you use the rule, give me a 1/4 inch. Well, 90% of the time when you leave that 1/4 inch, you actually took the buds off. So it's very, very important that you do it this way. You get a tree like this is going to be perfect.
Do different varieties have different bud spacing? So I know you were talking about the Padre,
Yes.
And when somebody said, leave me a 1/4 inch, well, you had only really not even had one bud yet
Right.
from the trunk of the tree out on that limb. So it's really more about visually show me that I'm seeing 2 buds. It's not about the specific length. It's about, I care about the number of buds
the
you're
number
leaving.
of buds on that spur, yes.
Yeah.
So yes, Padre is very bad for that. Also Aldrich is another one that's
Okay.
very, very bad for that. So you just got to watch it. But if you follow the simple rule for all of them,
Yeah.
you'll always get it right.
Leave me 2 buds.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very simple. There's nothing much to it, right? This one is a good example. Everything is here. If you were to cut all this off, and I'm going to cut it off the way everybody would, okay? Just to show you, and then I'm going to put a picture of what it would look like when you cut all this off.
Which you would call failure.
Failure. Yeah. You cut them like this, and you basically say, no, we don't need them.
This is actually the best looking one we've had with the most
Oh,
options.
Yes. It's got plenty of options. And you're going to see on this last picture that I put on what happens when you do this.
What it's going to look
What
like.
it's going to look like
in a
when
few
it breaks
weeks.
out,
Yeah.
because you are going to have so many blank spots. You're going to wonder. Let's call the nursery guy. We got to talk to him.
It's the nursery's fault.
It's always the nursery's fault. But
So you had
remember,
even no base buds here.
nothing. We took them all off, and that is a no-no, because I guarantee you this tree is going to grow 2 buds here, which is these 2 base buds on top, nothing here, and then it's going to grow everything down here. That's it. You just ruined this whole area.
So it'll be all below the carton, basically.
It'll be here slightly above the carton, but you just ruined this area where you wanted to leave
Right.
your scaffold. So you'll see what happens, because there's no bud there. There's waiting for those buds to come on, and there's really nothing there.
So kind of to wrap this instructional video up, it's really everybody should be out there in the field,
Absolutely.
right? Somewhat micromanaging the labor crews that are there to ensure that you're getting 2 buds,
Yes.
right? Because if not, really you're gonna have spent quite a bit of money on a tree.
You'll have a really hard time with this.
Yeah.
It'll bother you so much, because The investment that you have on this, from the tree to all the work you've done, is so big. Why ruin it now?
Yeah.
And it's a simple, very simple process. I can assure you that you just need to stay on the labor force and ensure. And the only way you can do this is by really staying on top of it and making sure that it gets done this way. And you'll be glad you did. It doesn't matter if it costs you a little more money, because you're going to live with this investment for 25 years.
Yep.
And with that, that's all I have, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much, Conrad.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.